Let's move on to our last category of the podcast today. Some good old-fashioned buy low and sell high, guys. So, um, again, if you like some fantasy content, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and click like on the video. It helps us out so we can spread the good word. Let's start with some buy low dudes. Who have you got that we can try and make some trades for, Cal?
Well, we'll start right off the bat. Who player we just mentioned in Devon Booker.
Okay, hit me with some D-book stats.
I think you can buy low because obviously I don't see him performing any worse than he is right now. He's
Right.
only putting up, 45% from the field. Yes. He's putting up like 24 and a half, only 2.6 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 1 steal, half a block, and his turnovers are okay, I guess, at 2.9. So I just feel like his usage probably has to go up a bit. The 3 assists is kind of what stares at me, and assists can be very valuable. I understand Chris Paul has taken a lot more of the load this season, especially at the start of the season, because he's been playing really well. But at some point, they're going to have to take a bit more of the ball off Chris. I think it's a very, it's a shortened season. He's pretty old. Maybe they'll do some rest days. I'm not too sure, but I think he only can go up from here, only. So if you can make a bit of a trade, around a value, I don't know, around the 50s or 60s, you could definitely make some ground there.
Yeah. I would agree. I had him on my list too. I think another thing just to add to something that could improve, I think his free throw attempts per game and free throw percentage could also increase. Last year, he was attempting 7.3 free throws a game and shooting over 91%, nearly 92%, which is amazing. And it's hard to replicate that. But he's shooting nearly 10 percentage points worse this year. Which I think will be corrected. He'll be closer towards that high 80s rather than low 80s in percentage. And if he can get to the line a little bit more, that makes a huge difference in the category that both on percentage and attempts adds to the value. So just to give an example, on Bustle Monster here, last year, he was a 2.65 sort of standard deviation in terms of value. In free throw percentage, this year he's a 0.37, so substantially worse in that category, which probably boosted his value a lot more last year. And obviously the scoring. I think the scoring, do you think he's going to score more than this? Like last year he was averaging nearly 27 a game. Right now he's averaging 23. Do you think that goes up another couple points?
Look, I'll give him a couple more points. I just think there's a lot of things that will go up. I can see the points going up a couple points. I can see even the 3-pointers go up to maybe that 3 a game. I could see the assists and rebounds also just getting that 1 or 2 up. I don't see why he can't do like a, 26, 4 rebounds and those 5 assists. So everything's getting that little bit up just to boost him.
Yeah. He's still doing similar to what we expect him to do, but just those little things like the free throw volume, the few assists, the couple of points, and that's it really. That's just enough to change these rankings. So if you've got an owner who's so concerned about rankings and they just want the highest ranked player, those are the owners that you'll be able to successfully get a buy low for someone like Devon Booker. All right, I'll throw out another buy low here, and his name, it was sticking very high on the list here. His name is Anthony Davis. I'd mentioned before that he is someone who we had lofty expectations, was sometimes going, he went number 1 in our league. He was the first player off the board, and he's not been living up to it. So I think that there is some scope for you to actually go out and buy low on Anthony Davis. He's the 19th ranked player on Yahoo at the moment. And the free throw percentage is one of the biggest things that is the reason for that. He's shooting under 71% for the season, when historically that has not been his thing, which is dragging his ranking down. He's also reduced his points per game and rebounds. So I think all of those things will continue to come up. Obviously, they had a really short break, so maybe he's just easing himself back into it. But if there's an owner panicking and you can sort of get him for someone more around that like 10th mark, like a early second round player, I think you could maybe do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the one thing you point out, the free throws, they have to come up. The past 2 seasons, he's pretty much averaged 84%. And the season right now is about, that's 71. So that has to go up with his attempts as well. That's what's kind of hurting him
Yeah.
because he's putting up about 6 attempts a game. And with the percentages he's done right now, it's more of a negative. So if he brings up more up to a positive, it'll be up there. I can also see his points coming up. He's only at about 22. I can see it bumping up to 24-ish, similar to what he did last season. So yeah, definitely room for improvement there. Could be a buy low, as you said. There's someone that's got his brains focused on the rankings.
Yeah.
So definitely, he's always going to be a first round talent. Always.
Always, yeah. He's just so talented. He's just such a good player. Like if you throw someone like a Christian Wood, like if you put their numbers side to side, Christian Wood's averaging more points, more rebounds. The blocks are very comparable. He's having better field goal percentage, so more threes than Anthony Davis as well. So you could maybe sway someone away from Anthony Davis with a Christian Wood, or even someone who's ranked even higher, someone like a Nikola Vucevic, Miles Turner, someone who's in the top 10. Someone like that, I would definitely throw out. Unless you sort of really crucially need those blocks, because Miles Turner might get you more, but you're going to get way more points, rebounds, assists, free throw percentage with Anthony Davis. So if you could execute on Miles Turner for Anthony Davis, far out, you're going pretty close to winning your league with that kind of trade.
Yep, 100% agree.
Give me another buy low there, Cal.
All right, next one. It's a sad one to say because he's on my team, and I would even consider getting rid of him. So if you want to send me an offer, Mitch, you can. I'm going to say Jamal Murray as a buy low. I regret it because in the moment I literally needed the guard spot, and I was tossing up between him and Zach LaVine, and I took him, and that now looks so stupid in doing that because Zach LaVine is killing it. But look, Jamal Murray, I've got Yahoo in front of me right now. It's 107 for the season, which is not good. Especially with someone I think I drafted him in the 4th round. So it was 4th or 5th round. So not a good pick for me currently. His field goal is not positive. He's only putting up, was that 17 points a game? That's miserable. So is that 17, 4 and 5. So I was expecting him to kind of maintain that playoff form in the bubble because he was killing it. But it looks like that was just a hot streak is kind of like what the conclusion I've now drawn. I hope he can bring it back a bit, but it looks like it was a bit of a hot streak.
It looks like it was a bit of a flash in the pan because if you actually look at the numbers, he is basically identical to what he did last year. He's dropped 0.4 assists, but literally doing the exact same thing. The only difference here is the free throw percentage is worse than last year by 10%, which is significant. So that's actually a fairly big difference. So if he gets that back up to 88%, which is what he shot last year, maybe there's another point or two on there. So he might be averaging 24 and 4, but it looks like this is just Jokic's team. And he's sort of the second fiddle, and Michael Porter Jr. hasn't even really been there the entire season. So there is scope for him to actually potentially get, I wouldn't say worse, but I'm not necessarily sure that this is a buy low. I more think that this is just who he is. So like, if you think it's a buy low, where do you think see him improving there, Cal?
Well, I'm more seeing it. I'm viewing it more of a week to week kind of league because we know this guy can heat up. He hasn't done it yet. So there will be weeks where he can really boost you in points. He'll go off for like a field goal. I'm sure he'll have like some kind of 40 point, 50 point, kind of week. And he just, like he was doing in the playoffs. So that's the positive I'm bringing from. I'm still kind of, I guess, because he's on my team, I'm holding out for those weeks to occur. This hasn't bloody happened, so if that happens at the end of the season, I mean, you're looking at a team that could very well compete for a championship. So that's the ceiling. It's really only in your head to those weekly head-to-head leagues where I do see him as a buy low.
Yeah. So Roto, you wouldn't buy him low because he's just, as an average, he's probably going to be doing something similar. But has the potential to sort of heat up. Yeah, I sort of agree with that take. I'm probably less high on him like I was at the beginning of the season, obviously. But, he's definitely not going to be the 77th ranked player, which is what he is currently. So if you could throw someone who's more in that, 50 to 60 range and get him, I think you're going to get a good deal there. So by rankings definition, I think, he could be qualified as a buy low. I'm going to throw another guard out there who has been quite disappointing so far this year, and that is D'Angelo Russell for the Timberwolves. I think, let me just bring up his ranking right now. He is someone who, again, I wasn't too high on, but at the moment he's been well under, and even without Karl Anthony Towns playing with him alongside him, who's missed all but 4 games. So very disappointing. He's the 104th ranked player on Yahoo. So someone who I think can definitely be better than this. His percentages have always been a bit shaky, but his scoring's down, his assists are down. He's someone who typically does hit a lot of threes per game, but I think he's someone that if someone's concerned with the rankings and you see 104 next to his name, you could definitely get him as a buy low candidate. And I think his shot selection and shot quality will actually improve when Karl Anthony Towns is back.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this pick. I think he's a textbook buy low. I was pretty high on him before the season because I thought that him and Karl Anthony Towns would be lethal offensively.
Yeah.
Look, defensively, those Timberwolves would probably still lose a fair few games, but offensively, I saw those guys as being so good together because when Russell was an all-star back in Brooklyn, he had one of the highest like kind of screen, if you look at like screen plays running for certain players, he was way up there. And that would work so well with Karl Anthony Towns. So just the fact that he doesn't have that and he's trying to create his own shot so much, his field goal is only at 42%, which is hurting you on 17 attempts. So you'd really expect that efficiency to go up. His assists would definitely go up. I can see him going up to like 8 assists a game when Karl Anthony Towns is actually playing. So it's hurting him a lot right now. So yeah, great pick for a buy low.
I think they're going to move away from Ricky Rubio as well. Obviously, Anthony Edwards has moved into the starting lineup as well, and he's not going to be generating any assists. So I see him as the primary ball handler in that starting lineup. So I can see the assists going up from here. And I know he's still hitting 3 threes a game, but he hit 3.5 last year. So I think that could even improve. And again, it seems to be a common theme with these guys. Free throw percentage. He's shooting 74% on the season, where last year he hit 81%. And that's like that key difference between it being a negative and a positive in free throw percentage. When you can be below that sort of 78, 79% on a fairly, he's shooting 3.5 attempts. So not huge volume, but still enough to hurt you versus, 4.5 attempts last year on a positive volume. It's a big flip when you change that percentage in a category like that. So if that switches around, his ranking can climb fairly quickly. So someone who I'd be targeting if you need sort of that guard that can get you some threes and assists and score in the 20s there. So we've got one more time. We've got time for one more buy low each here, Cal. Let's make it a quick one before we move on to the sell highs.
Look, we did mention a bit last week. I'm going to say Russell Westbrook. If you have any kind of faith, and if he fits you, he has to fit your build. I'll say he has to fit your build. Yeah. But he actually played really well against the Brooklyn team. Maybe he is back, and maybe the guy who had him is a bit sick of him. You could get a bit of a buy low. I don't see him playing any worse than he did for the first month of the season. Look, maybe he brings it back, he turns it on, and he could be a good buy low target.
He's someone I consider for this list, but I kind of left him off because I just feel like he's averaging 20 points. He's nearly averaging a triple-double. Let's be fair. He's nearly averaging a triple-double, and everyone was losing their mind when he first averaged a triple-double back when he won his MVP. I was not in that camp. I've always never really liked this guy. But, yeah, it's just so inefficient. 41% on huge volume, 67% free throw percent on huge volume, nearly 5 turnovers a game. He's not even averaging a steal, 0.3 blocks. Even the 1.7 threes is a negative. Like it's the league. There's so many threes shot this league. So he's someone you have to be punting free throw percentage. You have to be, and you have to be punting turnovers and probably field goal percentage too. So if you're in that percentage punt and turnovers, he's actually a very valuable player. But it's those percentages and turnovers are hard to stomach otherwise.
Yeah,
but I do like it.
He has to hit your build. But yeah, it's definitely a target.
He'll be better than this. And obviously they've had a rough run with COVID and things like that. So he hasn't really had too much time to build that chemistry. So he will be better, and he has shown a ceiling in the last couple of games. So maybe the owner is still panicking. Also keep in mind, he's still wrestling back-to-backs. So keep that in mind as well as another negative for him. My last guy is another guard, and it is Jamal Morant. After a hot start to the season, recently, he's been cold and has not been producing to the way we expect. He had a bit of time off with the Grizzlies missing a lot of games. So owners might be panicking a little bit, sort of maybe that those first few weeks were a flash in the pan. So I think he is someone that you might be able to get some, based on sort of more recency bias, a buy low offer in. he won't be this bad that he has been in the last couple of games. So maybe you can float a low offer to get Jamal Murray on your team.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off an injury, so
Yeah.
he's only going to get a bit better. I can see an assist coming up. His field goal is surprisingly been really good though, at about 51% on his 14 attempts. So that's positive.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
go
get
ahead.
he doesn't get many. The thing with him, and this is sort of his way he's shown so far in his career, it could improve, but he's not someone who shoots a lot of threes, and he's not someone who gets a bunch of steals for a guard either, and only averaging 2 rebounds a game, which is quite low. So all those things, we'll see. We'll see how they work out, but I do think he'll be much better than this, and he's definitely a top. I would say top 40 player for the rest of the season. So if you can get someone outside the top 50 for him, I would definitely do that.